Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin Our G.I. Joe Show, episode number 41. I'm joined with our special guest, John Anderson. Um, Fred
Greetings.
got Fred got the timing wrong. He thought for some reason we were going at a 7.
You're
I
fired,
called
Fred.
him, and I called him a little bit ago. He was on his way to the office. He should be there on any second, I think, to be honest with you. But we're going to get started here with John. A lot of people, you might have seen him, might not have seen him, his work. John, tell people a little bit about you, and what you do as far as a living.
I am a actor. I've appeared in well over 40 or 50 movies and TV shows over the last 5 years. I don't call myself an actor. I'm the trick-talking meat. I've done like 4 or 5 Marvel movies. I've been in Tyler Perry. I was on second season of Stranger Things. I've been all over the gambit. Recently, I just did Tag. That just came out on Blu-ray. Playing an alcoholic on Tag.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember seeing that one. We had talked about that last week. How you got to work with Jeremy Renner, and how it was publicly known that he had broken his arm, both arms or one arm, or I can't remember if it was both or one.
He messed up one really bad, and I think he sprained the other. But yeah, I watched him fall off a stack of chairs and do that.
Wow! So I mean, did the director, did everyone just go crazy when it happened?
Pretty much, yeah. That's no bueno.
Really? Wow.
It's day of shooting, no less.
Right, I understand that. Now, as far as Marvel movies, I know the only thing I know it was Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Sure.
And where you played one of the Ravengers, and then Spider-Man: Homecoming. That one I'm not familiar with. On which scene you were in?
In the Washington Memorial fight. Doing
God,
get to the top. You got to save him. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, great. I'll have to go back and rewatch that. I know my wife just recently watched that maybe a month or so ago. I think she fell asleep at the very end. I kept waking her up. I'm like, wake up, you're going to miss the best part. It's in the movie,
Shame on you.
Yeah, she used to be big on the movies, but not so much, I guess, anymore. I don't.
Well, being a mom is a full-time job, so we'll let it slide this time.
Yeah, she really likes seeing Melissa McCartney movies.
Right.
Like going to see those. There was one recently here. I wanted to go see. I think it probably already out of theaters. I'll be upset if it is, but it was the Happy Time Murders.
Yeah, the Puppets movie.
Yeah, I want to see that so bad.
The Vulgar Puppets movie, yes.
Oh my God, that's hilarious movie looking. I gotta definitely check that out. But John, you not only are you an actor, and you've played in some pretty big roles or movies, but as far as a lot of people not even know, because like we mentioned on the pod, having you on, what does he have to do with G.I. Joe? You yourself are a very huge G.I. Joe fan.
It's a disgusting, psychotic obsession with G.I. Joe, yes.
Right. You were recently at a JoeCon here in Chattanooga. You actually came up to me, I believe, and introduced yourself.
Yeah.
That's how it went. And then, of course,
I think I was friends with you on Facebook for a couple of years, but like a lot of people, I actually met so many people at JoeCon in Chattanooga this year that like I'd been friends with them for years through the groups and the G.I. Joe groups, and I finally got to meet a lot of them.
Right, and you had come up to me and we talked, and then of course we had talked to them before where your agent had actually reached out to me for my convention here in Arkansas.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to tie the knot on that one here soon. But so when you growing up, did you play with G.I. Joe figures? Were you?
Oh yeah. Like it. I think like a lot of kids in the early '80s. Like I remember the first big one I was into was Masters of the Universe. Every kid was a He-Man kid.
Yep.
If you were a little guy in 1984, it was He-Man, He-Man, He-Man. But my older brother was a G.I. Joe guy, and he used to trade him with this other kid at school, I guess, and then I inherited most of his Joes. But That it was on. Transformers, Joe's, and He-Man, the trifecta.
Right. That's how a lot of people seem. Like another friend of mine named Josh, we do another podcast with. That's how he was telling me how he got into playing with Joe's. That was kind of like a hand-me-down kind of thing. He inherited someone
Right.
else's toys. And, I remember being a child playing with I had a few. I didn't have very many G.I. Joes as a child. I was more of I guess, I'm 90. I mean, a lot of people know that I'm a major factor in Transformer toys more than anything else. And I mean, I love G.I. Joe, don't get me wrong. Just it's so hard to decide on what you want to have in your collection. It's
It's not hard to decide what I want. It's hard to pay for it is the problem.
Oh yeah, that's what I was getting to the point. Yeah,
I feel special. I just scored my Kangor.
Did you? Good. Now, for people who are watching or will watch, if you are in the market and selling your crystal ball, this guy is looking for one. I remember because you asked me about it.
I foolishly did not join FSS again, and then they put out all these awesome guys, and I'm like, I have to have that Stalker, got to have that crystal ball, got to have that Tomax and Zaymot, got to have that Kangor.
Right. I was kind of the point of thinking, I wish I would have just done 7 and cherry picked on 8.
Yeah.
Because I feel like 8 is like a huge disappointment.
Hey, we have another guy.
Yay, Fred made it.
Apparently, Fred can't read the difference between Central Time and Eastern Time. I apologize, gentlemen. I could have sworn Mike said 7, but I looked back. No, he was right. It was 6. I'm just late.
When you told me,
get off the call.
when you told me that, the first thing I did when you're on the phone, so I clicked over here. I'm like, did I put 7 on here? Did I screw up? I was like, oh shit, did I screw up?
Like Mike calls, no joke. I'm not trying to derail this. I'm looking at my clock. I'm like, okay, I've got just enough time to fit. I have a diabetic cat, so I'm like, I have just enough time to finish feeding the cat. I was giving him his insulin shot, and the phone starts ringing, and I'm like, well, crap, I've got like 25 minutes before I need to get in to do the pre-show stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's all good. We just
we'll skip the court martial this time.
Oh, damn it.
We were just talking about, we started off with John, he is a movie actor, but a lot of people didn't know when I made the post, it was like, people were going to be like, John Anderson, well, you got this picture of him and he's in these movies, but what's he have to do with G.I. Joe? Granted, people who weren't at JoeCon, he was, and he pretty much, he is a big. He showed me some pictures last week when we were in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, of his collection, and my God, does he not put troop building to its limits?
Disgusting. It really. I'll tell you, the side story of that is my mother was a Toys R Us manager when I was a kid. So when I tell everybody, like, I had everything growing up, like, because mom would use me as slave labor at the store when I was a little kid. And I was already like 6 feet tall when I was like 12 years old. So if you saw the idiot on the side of the road waving in the Jeffrey costume, that was probably me. In the middle of the Tucson, Arizona, hot sun, dry heat.
Oh, Lord.
But so she would give me like, 10 or 12 bucks or 15 bucks or 20 bucks, whatever it was on the weekend. And I would go in there and just go crazy. And you could get G.I. Joes for like $1 and $1.99, $2.99 back at that point. Or you could get like He-Mans for like a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
Transformers. If you were lucky, you could save up and get like the medium-sized Transformers, like the Sunstreaker size or the Starscream, the cats. Those were like the good stuff. But I collected since I was like 5, 6 years old. And even then, when I was a kid, I kept them mint on the card. I never opened them. So I tell everybody I had like all the Star Wars figures on the card, all the Transformers in the box, all the He-Mans in the box. And then they burned up one day in a house. And I lost them all.
Yeah, he was telling me this while we were at dinner. I was like, oh my God, it made me sick to my stomach when he told me that. I'm like, oh my God.
I lost about a $75,000 to $80,000 toy and comic book collection in 2006 in an apartment fire. So The oddball part of that though is when you're depressed and you're sad and you're like, man, I ain't gonna start this over again. I ended up going to I think a Walmart, and they had that like, what was it, 5-pack of GI Joe, the modern stuff had just come out. They did a Coke set, and they did a Joe set, and I thought those were like the coolest thing ever. And I figured, well, if I'm gonna start doing anything over again, GI Joe was my favorite. So I've been that's all I really bought since then. So I just buy GI Joe religiously at this point. I know you can see figures behind me, but that's Batman. It's the exception to every rule.
Well, and you've got Evil Dead. So Evil Dead, you got Ash in there, so it's all good.
Sure. Oh, you see that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Shop smart. Shop as smart.
Hail to the
I
king.
got the pleasure of meeting Bruce Campbell last year. My girlfriend Kelly actually got me a meet and greet with him. He's one of my heroes. So. Wrestling and Evil Dead and GI Joe.
Now you do. Like we said, you do a lot of appearances at other cons. Now, you've gone to cons, like we recently met up last week at a con. And when you go to these conventions and, you're there as a professional guest, do you still get time to geek out, nerd out a little bit?
Usually, I'm doing like 30 or 40 cons a year all over the country now, usually like about every other weekend on average. So, yeah, the first thing I do is I set the table up and get all my stuff ready to go. And then if I'm there, I try and get there a couple of days early or a day early so I can wander around the vendor room and start finding those hard targets I'm looking for. Because I don't buy anything on the internet. That's my whole thing. I refuse to buy online.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm a weirdo, I know, and everybody's like, oh, you can get it cheaper. But for me, and like when I was a kid, and even when I was in my teens before that collection burned up, like the thrill of the hunt is where it's at. That's...
Yeah.
When you go and you finally find this guy at like a random toy store in Georgia, Full Circle Toys. If you've never been there, it's the best it's the best retro toy store I've ever seen, honestly. Kelly and Richard over at Full Circle Toys. They're awesome people. Their selection is insane. Go check them out.
I think I've heard of that place before. Now I think about it. I have.
It's amazing. It's the most amazing place ever. Every time I'm filming a TV show or a movie or something in Georgia, I got to stop there on my way home and blow some coin.
Oh. Now they have a pretty, if I remember correctly, I think I've seen a video where they have a pretty extensive Joe selection there, don't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It makes my heart hurt every time I walk in there because. You walk into this place, man, and they've got like 6 or 7 flags set up, and it's just like, wow.
Damn.
Wasn't not playing around.
It's like Fleet Week when you walk in there.
Oh, it was, man. Their whole front window last year was nothing but GI Joe battle, like with the flag and the devilfish and the whales and the whole nine. It was great.
Oh, that's killing me.
Yeah, it's there's a many toy stores I like to frequent around the country. They've got a really good one in Gadsden, Alabama. I'm having a brain fart now because my dog is trying to bite my ankle. It will come to me in a moment, I'm sure.
Sorry about that. I got distracted for a second. Now, as many as people know, me and Fred have both been invited to next year's Joe Fest 2019 as a guest, and surprisingly, you have too as well. John, you'll be there as a guest as well. Yes,
I will. I was there for the first year this year with Ed Schumacher at Joe Fest.
Okay. I didn't know that. How was that? I hate to interrupt you on that, but explain to us. From what I understood, it was very, very small with a lot of body sweat in there.
Yeah, I think Ed and pretty much everybody there, and God bless him for it. It was a very underestimated show. My God, it was a great show though, man. We had a great time over the thing, and I am even more super pumped about year 2. So I think with the loss of Joe Con and Hasbro pulling it out from under us, I would hope that everybody that was at Joe Con is going to migrate to Joe Fest in Augusta, Georgia with Ed Schumacher and his plan.
That seems to be pretty much the case because it seems like every week or every other week, Ed is turning around and he's like, oh, by the way, we're adding this to it. And it's,
Kirk Brosigan's going to be there. Oh, really?
Yeah. Kirk. And then Ron Rudat. And, by the way, you may have heard of this guy who did some wrestling stuff. Sergeant. Slaughter.
Oh, I thought Smasher. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right. Eric Sarge. That's the fake Sergeant Slaughter.
like they're just killing it with the people.
I really feel like if you were at JoeCon and you enjoyed that experience, and that was actually the first and the last one for me, which stinks because I wish I'd known.
Oh, was it?
Oh man,
yeah, I'd never been to one, but I figured, I'm 2 hours away in Birmingham, Alabama, so I was like, well, hell, I got to go up for the last one. So my brother flew in from Seattle. He's also a huge Joe fanatic, and I was like, man, I wish I would have done this sooner. I really do, because that was probably the most fun I've ever had at a con, and I'm really thinking that Joe Fest is going to be the new highlight of my year. I really do. This thing is out of control. It's awesome.
Here's what I want to say about, even though it was your first and last one, and I know Fred had gone to a JoeCon or two beforehand.
Oh, yeah, I've gone to several for a while over the years.
And then I will have to admit, because I had gone to, that was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That was my 5th straight one. And I think out of all the years I went, that was the first time I ever seen people line up that damn early for anything at JoeCon. Dude, they lined up 2 or 3 hours early just to put on the feed bags to go eat that buffet.
Oh man, you know what? The best part about that too, again, is like I knew so many of you guys from Facebook and just chat room groups and talking about Joe's and talking about He-Man, and then you get to meet them all face to face. It really was like this big giant family atmosphere. It's like, oh, it's like the family reunion of nerds. They did such a great job with that thing, man. Again, my only regret about JoeCon was that I didn't do one sooner.
Yeah. Right, and I mean, and that was pretty. I've said this before. I went to a number of bot cons. Matter of fact, from 2010 to the end, and Transformer fans and con goers, about 80% of them are real assholes, and that's just saying it nicely. I mean, they are.
Oh, I don't know if I can agree with that one.
Wow. Well, I mean, at the con, it's a different. When you go to a convention, the big convention, it's a whole different story. There's a lot of people there who it's a very different game. I think it's day and night with JoeCon and BotCon.
If you guys hear a speaker, I apologize. It's this guy.
Aw.
Stop that.
Big old guy with a tiny little dog.
Yeah, that's right. It's hard to look manly with a 3-pound dog.
It's not so much a pet; it's more of an accessory at that point.
That's right. I have a little hand purse for her too, and you got to really accept your manliness. You're all right with your manliness when you can carry a 3-pound dog in a hot pink bag.
There you go. And now I felt that it felt more family at JoeCon versus what it was at BotCon, in my opinion. So. That's kind of the point on that.
I really feel like that Joe Fest is going to have that same vibe. I talk to Ed pretty regularly, and I'm like, man, every time I turn around, you're just one-upping yourself, and it's just amazing. I think it's really going to be JoeCon minus a toy set.
I was going to say, I had commented to Ed about that on Facebook, and I actually love the concept of it being JoeCon minus the big figure set, because to me, this way, your dealers are going to be happier, for one thing, because you're spending your money to go to the event, and it's not going to be nearly as much, which means more people can go. He's got a ton of guests, and then on top of it, they have more money to spend on the dealer's room, so they can get whatever the heck they want. And I think it just puts a different priority on the whole event. It shifts everything.
I think it should be, like Roma Collectibles is showing up. I've met those guys last year, and if you've never seen their vendor booth, man, it's insane. Oh, yeah. It's a buyer's market, man, with those guys.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny, I remember seeing that post that you made, Fred, and I thought how at the very end of that post, it's kind of like it's the best part of going to convention and the club not being the biggest vendor of the whole con.
Sure.
They were.
Because
if it's JoeCon, it should have been there, but this is Joe Fest, so we're leveling the playing field now.
So you kind of look at how much did you take? Like me, I probably spent easily $3,000 on myself at the club alone on figures. So I mean, and that left me with the pocket change with my, in my pocket for anybody else.
I was I like to think more modest at Joe. Sorry, people are popping up on my Facebook. I didn't spend quite what I thought I was going to, but I know my bro, I think he said he started out with a limit of 700 and he blew that out on Friday night or Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was over. I was like, dude, you're so full of crap, man. It's just not going to happen. But I didn't buy any of I didn't buy the snake armors because I thought they were lame. They glued them shut. I thought that was kind of stupid. And,
Who does that?
yeah, I was like, what's the point of having the snake armor if you can't put your Cobra Viper in there, man? Come on, man.
Oh, hold on now. But they did say there was a way to get it in there.
Right.
Take off his gear.
Okay.
His legs
They literally made more work for themselves.
Right.
Why are you making more work for yourself? That's a whole nother thing.
And honestly, when we were joking, I was like, Python Patrol, it's like it was cool, but it was kind of like the phasing out of G.I. Joe in the late 80s, like when they were coming up with the gimmick stuff. Like the Night Force was kind of neat, and then they did like the Chrome stuff, and then they did the Python Patrol. But then, when I got the figure set, like the big box, I'm staring at it right now. It's I really enjoyed the Heat Vipers and the Laser Vipers, and those guys were cool. I really do wish I bought more of that stuff while I was there because I can't afford it now.
I'll have to send you a picture of my set. You can't see it in the case, but I did one full shelf. I even went and bought the Python Conquest.
I went back and got one of those.
The Target one, yeah.
Oh yeah, I put that in there. Put one of the figures in it. I really enjoy the way I displayed it. It's so nice because that maroon look. I did that one.
It's all uniform now. It looks awesome. That's the nice thing about going to all those cons every weekend is because I do find a lot of these old Joe toys, and some of them are missing like a panel or a steering wheel or an antenna. So it's like you get them dirt cheap. And I have been admittedly buying a lot of Python Patrol stuff from the 80s here, just to kind of make my ranks a little thicker.
The best part about looking at my Python Patrol now is knowing that Blood has the correct head.
Yeah.
That makes it all worthwhile.
Got my little heads in the mail too, which were pretty rad. The replacement heads for the box set. So that's just like an extra 3 guys I can make something else out of.
Right.
You can make that Marauder Blood with one of your extra heads now.
Sure, there you go.
Now back on the Joe Fest, we talked about I'll have to pull it up, I guess.
I was going to mention about Joe Fest too, man. I said, Sergeant Slaughter is very cool, and I'm ecstatic about him being here. But Kirk Bosigan is the dude I'm looking forward to. And if people have never gone to a show and listened to this guy talk, if you're a retro '80s toy guy, this guy is like the god of your childhood. And to get that dude on stage and just to share some of the stories and the stuff that didn't make it into production and the one-ups that he brings.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man. That guy is like, he was the vice president of Boys Toys at Hasbro.
Yes.
I think correctly. Yeah, from like 84 to like 95 or 96.
He was, we actually interviewed him 2 years ago, and I've talked, I work in marketing. Don't hold it against me, but so every time I have the chance to talk to Kirk, it's to me, it's amazing because, I was on the receiving end, as a lot of us were when we were younger, of all his marketing tactics. Now I can talk to him from the tactical side of, okay, so now am I reading this right? You did this, this, and this to try to, and he is so crazy passionate. Like his panel with Carson.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
And I remember the comment that he made in one of the panels one time, and somebody was, well, why did you do this? And why did you do neon? And why was there ninjas? And Kirk just outright said, he's like, look, we looked at what anybody else was going to do, and we wanted to get there first.
Right, one up them.
And have G.I. Joe be the clear option in that. And that's why he always talks about Star Brigade.
Star Brigade, that's what I was going to say. It's like he wanted to have their version of Star Wars figures. It's brilliant, man. Come on now. They may not have been the coolest figures in the world, but they were there.
He headed off Kenner's relaunch of Star Wars and made him back off because he got Star Brigade to market faster. It's like, that man is a diabolical genius. And I have no doubt if they hadn't have bought Kenner,
I blame Kirk for many, many afternoons in the Tucson sun in a Jeffrey suit. Because I was lucky enough to meet him on Friday before JoeCon really got kicked off, and I kind of hit it off with him. We became friends on Facebook, and he's just such an amazing human being to talk to. If you're a passionate guy or gal about old retro toys. Yet, I think is the biggest reason to go to Joe Fest this year.
Yeah.
I think that's just that guy is the king of the toy market, man. He was awesome.
Well, and
So
putting him and Ron Rudat together, put him in a panel together, and just let's just sit back and listen, because Ron did most of the design, a lot of the early designs for how many years of Real American Hero up there.
The cover logo was Ron, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, so that alone it makes him in the book of cool. Hell, he was Leatherneck. I mean, come on, how dope is that? It's like how many times with Joe.
Put the two of them up there and give them all the water and coffee or whatever the hell they want to drink, beer, I don't care. And I'll just listen for a good couple hours as these two just shoot the crap. And
Ron Rudat, another unsung hero of the Joe universe. A lot of people didn't know about him until after that Toys That Made Us show hit on Netflix. But that guy did all the file card art, man. I mean, the guy's a legend, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because let's be honest, the cartoon was great, and you had your guys that you liked on the cartoon, but when you went to Toys R Us, and, if you remember back in the 80s, it was like a big 8 to 12-foot section of Joe's. And it was just like, you always pick the dudes that look the coolest on the front, like the front of the box like that. That's awesome. Yeah. I was like, I got to have that. I got to have Dial Tone because, he's got the cool backpack, and I want the Alley Viper because he's got the cool shield and the visor and the neon orange, and, it was awesome, man. It's just kids today don't understand. And yet another reason why I don't buy on the internet, because it's like you don't get that when you see it online. It's not as magical when you don't walk into the Walmart or the Toys R Us when they were around, or the KB.
And when you walk in and, it's either open packaging so that the thing is right there, or it's clear where you're just staring at the toy, where back in the 80s, they had original painted artwork for everything. And Kirk is the first to admit, if you had an 85 vehicle on the cover, you'd have an 85 character that was singly sold on there, but then you'd have 1 or 2 84 characters as well, because they were still sold. So you might go in and you might be like, I'm going to buy an Ostriker, but holy crap, I think I need Dusty today too.
Yeah, because Dusty's on that's like his car now. It was like he was the pilot, the driver, so it's like, you almost want matching out, man. Or you saw a Night Raven, you wanted like the pilot to come with it, or Cobra Commander to sit in a little back shuttle thing.
I was going to say, you always needed the extra figures that were the ancillary characters around the piece of art, and that's how Kirk, one of the many ways that Kirk was brilliant in getting us hooked so bad on things.
I hope he tells the story again, because at Joe Con he did that thing where he was talking about his kid was asking him, well, what does it do? And that's why he was like, oh, well, we need a spring-loaded missile. We needed like a little water gun. We needed something cool to go with it. And that's like, as lame as I thought it was then, now I'm like, wow, that's really actually kind of rad. It's like, I didn't quite get Manimals or Star Brigade back in the day, but now I'm kind of like, man, I need to go find those again at the cons.
When I was younger, and I mean, that was out of Joe at that point, I still remember going into Toys R Us and seeing the Dino Hunters set and going, what the hell is this? And now as an adult, I would have killed for a really good Dino Hunters set. Sure. To tie into all the Jurassic films, because I'm like, of course we needed a reissue of Dino Hunters.
Sure.
Because they look great, and the dinosaurs are better now.
And I think that's one of the biggest losses we're going to have now that the club is coming to an end. It's like it was the only place you were going to get those Sonic Fighter reissues. It was the only place we were going to get, a Star Brigade or, any of these like subgroups again that I didn't really care for as a kid. But now I'm like, man, I wish I did get them.
Yeah. I still kind of hold out hope that Hasbro might consider a Matty collector option. Or something like that.
It seems foolish that they wouldn't do something, at least directly through them, through Hasbro.com, something, man.
Something.
Just satiate my need.
Well, and that keeps the trademarks alive, because, that was something that the story had come out, with the Big Revolution set a couple of years ago, that was the San Diego exclusive.
Yeah, I've got that set. It was great. Yeah. The Jetfire in there was amazing.
Why was Roadblock in there? Well, Roadblock was not the original figure that was supposed to be in there. It was supposed to be, I think it was Duke, but Hasbro went, oh crap, the Roadblock trademark's coming up. Like we have to do something with it, and then hey, we've got this Renegade's head that hasn't been released. Boom.
Yeah, and I think I'm sure at some point have another movie looming around the corner somewhere, and it's like, well, you got to Roadblock will obviously be a part of that. So
So speaking of movies, since I came into this whole conversation late because I suck,
Right.
Mike, have you talked with John much about any of his movie work?
We talked a little bit. He'd done some work with Marvel. I named off a couple I remember off the top of my head, which was Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Spider-Man Homecoming. What are the other two Marvel movies again?
I did Black Panther. I was in the post-credits scene for that, and I worked a little bit on Logan at one point.
See, I'm curious about, because if I'm reading this correctly, I'm cheating. I'm going on IMDb again just to make certain I got this right. So you were part of the Comic-Con Guardians 2 panel.
Yeah, I actually got to. It was kind of funny because for like years, I'm not really like a big crowd guy anyway, but I love cons, don't get me wrong. But I used to joke that said that, you'd never get me to San Diego Comic-Con unless you paid me and then drove me around all weekend. And then, Disney did it. Careful what you wish, That was an amazing experience. That was like probably one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do. But San Diego Comic-Con is a complete nightmare. If you've never seen it, I think if you're a big comic and toy junkie, you should do it at least once, but it's just so massive and there's so many people and it's spread across an entire city of San Diego at this point. And a lot of stuff that I saw wasn't even anything to do with comic books and toys and stuff. That's what really bothered me a lot. Like, it's why are we like promoting, The Bachelor at San Diego Comic-Con? That doesn't make any sense to me, man.
When nerd culture,
he can own something. So I guess you gotta, placate to the masses, so to speak. So
yeah. So how were you one of the ones chosen to go to Comic-Con out of all the Ravagers?
I no idea. Just lucky.
It's still kind of awesome.
Yeah, no, it was really rad. It was one of those things. I guess somebody took a liking to me somewhere on that set. I guess.
Or they drew your name out of the hat. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I mean, I know there were like they wanted one. I was a Herctarian in that particular movie, and there was only like one or two of us, I think, total. So I know there's me and my brother and Joe Harden from the set. He was the other Herctarian. I guess they just flipped a coin, and it was me instead of Joe, and the rest was history.
How did you get involved in doing these parts? I mean, like, how did you one day go, I think I'm gonna start doing some parts in some of these films? Like, what makes that transition happen?
I'm uniquely physical attribute of being 6'8" and skinny. So, literally with Guardians of the Galaxy like 4 or 5 years ago, I was on Facebook late one night piddling around and I saw an ad for, seeking for a feature film, tall, skinny, ugly guy with crooked teeth. And I'm like, well, I'm a tall, skinny, ugly guy with crooked teeth, And people laugh, but that's literally what pretty much the post was, and they were like, they need bigger than 6'4", the taller the better. And I'm like, well, hell, I got this. I'm an ace in the hole then, and just 4 months of auditions and going back to Atlanta and back and forth. And then finally at the end, they said, hey, you're going to be in Guardians 2. And I'm like, mind blown, I mean, if you're a comic book fanatic your entire life and then they ask you to be in one, I mean, that's about as great as it gets.
Oh, hell yeah.
When you were going back and forth to Atlanta, when you're an actor and I guess working for yourself, is that something you have to pay on your own, go back and forth and redo auditions?
Sometimes, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So it depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
But I was new to the game during Guardians, so I didn't know any better. But yeah, I was paying out of pocket. But again, you're in a Marvel movie. Who cares? Yeah,
yeah, it's true.
They could have told me to take a dive off the top of the soundstage into the parking lot face first, and I probably would have been like, "Yeah, let's do it, Marvel." And it still would. Would.
And also now on the small screen, you've done MacGyver, Stranger Things 2. And what was it? Another one you had mentioned to me earlier?
Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow,
Sleepy Hollow, that's right.
Hollow.
I'm like one of 7 people that probably watched that show until its 3rd season.
It's funny too because everybody missed it. Now I still, I talk about that show at the cons, and everybody's like, "Man, I really love that show." I'm like, "Where were you last season?" But hey, I digress. It's TV. It's here today, gone tomorrow.
So, I'm looking at a lot of it, like MacGyver and are those all Atlanta? I mean, forget my ignorance. Is it MacGyver also an Atlanta show?
Yep.
Okay.
The only thing I've done outside of Atlanta was Logan. I only worked a day or two on that one. I was supposed to be a stand-in, but some things came up, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't live in New Orleans for 3 months.
Okay.
Oh wow.
But yeah, Atlanta is essentially taken over as film capital of the world. I mean, there's more productions there than in LA now. We call it Y'allwood now.
Ha!
Oh yeah.
Going to Y'allwood this weekend. Going to be
Yeah,
doing some.
I was gonna say it seems like every Marvel movie is ending with that peach logo in the credits.
Yeah,
filmed in
they all
Georgia,
are.
and more power to them. I like seeing things decentralized. It's giving folks a whole different pool of people job opportunities.
Yes, and I was one of those lucky slobs. So again, I'm not an actor. I'm just trick talking meat.
Okay, I have to ask: have you talked about what Trick Talk? Have you guys already talked about where the origin of that came from?
No, we have not.
Yeah, that's it's my ode to Carrie Fisher. My first love in life, like most of us in the early '80s, most little guys in the early '80s. Princess Leia was our first love, and I think you guys both agree with that. So when Carrie died, she did an interview on the Today Show about 30 or 40 years ago, and I guess it was around Return of the Jedi era, and they asked her, was it fun being on the set of Star Wars? And she said no. George Lucas didn't treat us like actors. We weren't even human beings. We were just trick-talking meat. We'd say our line, hit our mark, and move on to the next scene. And so when she died, I was heartbroken, most like all the Star Wars fanatics out there. And I just said, as a joke, and as I was going to fly that banner in honor of Carrie Fisher. So people kind of dig it. I do too. We love Carrie. Long live the General.
That one was rough because here you're seeing her. She's making this comeback. Not that she hadn't been working. She's making a screen comeback. Right,
and she looked good still too. I mean, she got in shape. Yeah, I mean, General Leia was awesome, and their character was awesome in those movies, and then they took it from us. So, and it's a drag, man. And a lot of people, celebrities die, and that stinks. But I guess there is when you grow up with these people, it's a little tougher.
There are certain people that, especially if you grew up in the '80s, that man, when they go, it's going to be kind of rough. Carrie Fisher was one.
Harold Ramis.
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams.
That was a bad one. I'm not.
Michael Jackson was a crazy one. Just like wow, really? He's gone.
Stanley and William Shatner are both going to be rough for me because I growing up in the late '70s, early '80s, that was the era of original Star Trek coming back in syndication hard. So it was like 10 years old at the time, but it's like, man, no, Kirk was my guy when I was a kid. Burt Reynolds. Just lost Smokey.
Yeah.
And in honor of that, I watched both of those movies yesterday.
First one.
I did the back-to-back marathon of Smokey and the Bandit 1 and 2. So
I'm a member of a group where we get together once a month. We call it's Beer and B Movie Night, and we drink craft beer and we watch 2 movies of B quality. And I was so excited when I was after Reynolds died. I was reading about Smokey and the Bandit, and that technically it is a B grade budget. And I went, excellent. We're watching. So we're doing Burt Reynolds tribute night. We're doing that, and I think Gator next weekend.
Nice.
Because we got to dig deep for some old Burt there. That isn't.
I'm a huge connoisseur of bad '80s horror films. Like I'm not talking like the slasher icon guys; those are great too, like Freddy, Jason, whatever. It's cute, but like I'm like the Chud and Ghoulies and The Stuff and
was Stuff the one about the
yogurt in space, man, from outer space.
No, what was that one? It was was it? It was. I thought it was Robert, or what was it? Morton Downey Jr. or can't remember his name. It was like a marshmallow puff stuff. Yeah,
that's the stuff.
Yeah,
you would eat yogurt and it would take you over and kill you and take your body over or whatever.
Yeah, okay, that was
outer space. Yeah. I had a T-shirt on, and people always ask me if it's a band logo, and I'm like, no, it's not. Hey, what are you? Oh, look what you've done! My dog just peed on the couch. I'll be right back. Look what you did.
All right, Mike. This is where you get to filibuster about something exciting.
Bad dog.
to get you.
Yeah, enough about the 80s movies. Let's talk G.I. Joe again. Nobody cares about my career.
So I am going to ask one thing that's kind of a transition. So if you had the chance to get a part in G.I. Joe 3, I have a feeling in Heartbeat.
Oh yeah, no, I'm lobbying to be Wild Bill. I'm lobbying hard because I actually, before actor, I actually did cosplay and stuff. And one of the ones I did, I used to have the big handlebar mustache, the curled up and the goatee, and it's like I'd just put on the hat, and everybody used to call me Wild Bill when I'd walk around these cons anyway. So it's like that would be awesome if I could get a cameo as Wild Bill in a Cobra gunship. That would be about as cool as it gets.
That would be interesting.
As actors, you have your bucket list of stuff. I wanted to be in a Marvel movie. I got to do a horror movie as a slasher thing. I did, I'd love to be a Klingon on Star Trek. I got this giant bulbous forehead that's just begging for a turtle shell on it.
With Quentin Tarantino doing it now, you can get your slasher and your Trek on at the same time
That's
almost.
Right. You know what? I'm actually pumped about that. I hope he does get to do one. I think it'd be cool. I'd love to see what he does with it.
I thought I was under the impression that it was a done deal. I thought, but was it not?
We'll see. I know that a lot of the Trek franchise films are up in the air again, so we'll see. I think they're having contract issues with some
stuff. It's sad. It really is because I grew up, Star Wars and Star Trek, but I prefer Star Trek over Star Wars. But I mean, it was.
I am a far bigger Trekkie.
Yeah, these new movies they did were extremely well done with all of today's technologies and everything they can do with it. Just looked, watching the old ones versus these new ones are just 10 times better.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of them.
Oh, you're not?
No, I'm not a real big fan of the modern Trek movies. They're cool, and don't get me wrong, their action, they needed a jolt of energy to those movies, but there's no moral barometer in them anymore, I think.
Yeah.
The whole thing was like Gene Roddenberry, wanted us to learn something at the end of the Trek episode or the end of the movie, and they're missing the weenie now.
Well, and that's the good thing about really good science fiction. Really good science fiction was always some sort of morality play. At least the 60s stuff that I grew up with was always a morality play that they just, we're gonna tease you about that. We're gonna hide it behind the veneer of science fiction, but realistically, we're trying to get a point across and to make you think.
Go back and look at those old Star Trek episodes, like the half black, half white guy, and then the white, half black guy. I mean, that was just totally in your face, but you didn't know it when you were 7 watching it. No. You watch it now, though, and it's like, wow, yeah, that's kind of deep.
That's one of the things I liked about the web series. I know we're diverging again, but if you've ever seen the web series Star Trek Continues.
Yeah, awesome show.
They did and I know they had to end it early because of Paramount and blah blah blah, but they did an episode called I think it's what starships are made for or something like that, where there's two races that are at war with each other and they're on this planet and everything's in black and white.
Sure.
You can't tell who did the difference, and they fix the atmosphere and suddenly it's not black and white anymore, and the one guy who's played by John Delancey of all people finds out that his wife is the other race.
Yep.
How do you? And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's some meat in this scene.
Yeah, it's a great show. If you haven't seen it, Star Trek Continues, definitely cool.
I'm kind of surprised with the fan productions in Star Trek and even the Star Wars fan films that we haven't seen more people try to do that with Joe. There've been some, but I just haven't seen a lot. And I'm not talking like the real low budget. I'm talking like the level of Star Trek Continues, where people have, Skinny's Skinny's got that Kickstarter up right now.
You would think that Nist would be on top of that, like Joe Colton and all those guys would be just all about doing, even if it was just a little 10-minute thing.
Yeah, because Skinny had shown us one. He had shared one with us, which was Don Moreno short film. Was it Kunoichi? I think they call it.
That's right.
And I'm really surprised that there are so many creative and talented people in the Joe fandom that we're not seeing more Joe fan films right now. Subtle hint.
Better than the films that we had.
Oh, those were.
Rough.
This one was good. The first one hurts my feelings.
When Steven Summers said, "Well, we're going for an homage to Thunderball at the end of the first one," and I went, "Oh God, I'm a James Bond fan, but the end of Thunderball goes on for it feels like 4 hours of real time,
Sure.
like the never-ending Aqua battle, and then that's what we get for our Joe with ice chunks that
I honestly thought if they would have used the script for Resolute in a live action movie, it would have been a whole different franchise right now, I think.
Oh,
Hell
God,
yeah.
We were just talking about Resolute. What was it? Where did we mention that? I think it was maybe the last episode I talked about it with CoilCon guys. I think that's what we talked about.
Love Resolute.
I show that DVD to people. They're like, G.I. Joe, man, they sucked. I was a transport. And I'm like, no, here, look at this. And they were like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm like, I know. See what you've been missing?
It was all about that Comic-Con teaser they did. Where where it starts off like Sunbow, and then so it's Joe. They're running, and also wait a minute, is that automatic weapons fire? Wait, what? Right. And you see the door, they slam it, and the bullets going through it. I'm like, holy crap!
Man. And then what was the line? We got a ninja.
Yes, I know we got a ninja. Yeah, because Snake Eyes straight up massacres. Guys, this is not my parachute went off early and I'm gonna be okay. No, they're dead.
Yeah, they're
all
straight up posed. Yeah, it was awesome. But I show people that still to this day, and they're like, "Man, why didn't they make this a cartoon series?" I'm like, "I don't know. You tell me."
Come on, Netflix. This is your
doing She-Ra now, man. Come on, DreamWorks, where are you at? Let's get some Joes going here, and not that weird Gades thing either, because I didn't particularly care for that one either.
Which one?
G.I. Joe Renegades. I didn't like the animation. It was too cartoony looking. It just, it was kind of it was like half-ass anime, and it didn't work for me.
I think Renegades suffered, and it's not a popular opinion. A lot of people love it. I was okay with it, but ultimately Renegades felt like you were trying to do
the A-Team.
The A-Team. You called it G.I. Joe, and you had a little bit of Resident Evil going with, because we can't have troops being killed in animation.
We're gonna have zombies killed though.
Bio Vipers.
You're right.
It
didn't really reach me. I mean, I don't even know if I probably bought the figures just because they were on clearance at a Walmart or something. But
I actually still have my figures, every one of them, even the Roadblock we got from San Diego.
Oh, I don't ever get rid of my figures now.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me to trade earlier this afternoon. I'm like, I'm the wrong guy, bro. Now, I will gladly buy yours from you, but I ain't giving my shit. There ain't no way. You just bagged all over that Raven jet from the movie 2 weeks ago. You don't even like them. I'm like, yeah, but I've got 4 of them, so it's like a squad now.
It's a squad.
Yeah, I'm a weirdo too. I have to buy everything in 2s.
Okay.
I used to be that way.
Unless it's like a Viper Trooper, then I'll buy them hand over fist. I don't know why. I think with the Crimson Guard, I stopped around 200 because it was just getting to be too many.
Back in the Joe versus Cobra days, I got this weird obsession with the Neo Viper because I love the concept of the genetically enhanced, kind of like Spartans from Halo. And then one day I woke up, I looked at my shelves, and I went, "Shit, I have 125 of these things."
Sure.
How that, and it was all back in the days of eToys, when they would, which was partnered, I think, with KB at that point. They would clearance them out for $2 a 2-pack.
And that's where I got all those Crimson Guard from. I was going into Toys R Us buying those 5-packs at $12 a shot, and I'd buy 7 or 8 of them at a time, man. It's no, and I still go to cons and I'll be going through the little rummage bins and I'm like, wow, Crimson Guard guy for $5 sold.
So are you primarily an O-ring or a modern construction now?
Modern guy. Like I said, I started with those 2 box sets in 2007, and then I was like, oh man, they're going to do single card file. You got to have Flint, you got to have Destro, you got to have, Alpine's my favorite. Got to have him,
Oh, yeah.
Got to have Storm Shadow, 12 of them, Oh, Zombie Viper, that's different. I need 50 of that guy.
The Zombie Viper to this day, even with the reissue, still pains me that they should have just done whole cases of those.
Yeah, they really should have.
Straight up cases of zombies.
They should have done 5-pack, and you see those 5-packs that they offered at Big Bad Toy Store or Toys R Us or some of these. But where the heck was the guy that didn't think that the bat pack would have been like awesome. The bats army builder pack, put 5 bats in a box.
Yeah.
And sell them to me wholesale, man. I would have been buying. I would have had 200 of those guys floating around.
Well, the Viper pack that they were going to do, which had Mercer in it, got canceled.
Right.
And it was like, 4 Vipers, and then one had the removable helmet, and it was Mercer.
Didn't they do a bats pack in like China or something? But it was like a very small run, and they decided not to do it at the last second, something like that. I thought they did do like a 4-pack of bats.
Well, I mean, they in the non-O-ring era.
Right.
In the O-ring era, we had the Robot Rebellion bat pack. We had the Mail Away 3 packs, which I bought the crap out of those.
I would have thought the Fighters Club store would have tried to have done bats, like some kind of variant bat, and did like a box set of them.
BotCon 2000. I mean, JoeCon 2008.
They needed 4 bats and a scrap iron in a big box set. You know what I mean? That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
No,
or even a couple of bats and like the bat controller that just happens to be a Viper that has a remote in his hand or something. So it's like, wait,
like the white lab coat, blue trooper in a white lab coat and a hand remote to control his bats.
Yeah, like no matter what, I'm troop building everything in the set, whereas opposed to getting a named character that I'm like, I'm stuck with a bunch of him.
Yeah, I got like 15 Cobra Commanders. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
I think we've got the Cobra Commander base covered. I've got every color and version and possibility.
Oh my god, yeah.
Ever do in winter gear, night gear, black gear, red gear, whatever, hood, no hood. Yes. That's the other thing. They never did a Cobra Commander with a removable helmet. Like, that just begged to be a figure to me. Like, what was like some lizard head or something underneath it or something, It's like, if you're going to keep doing Cobra Commanders, I mean, come on, man.
The closest...
I get it. You have to have Cobra Commander for the kids that don't know anything about G.I. Joe and they're new to the collection and whatever. Everybody wants to have the main bad guy, but it's like, come on, man. He doesn't need to be in every wave of figures. You don't need a Snake Eyes. I mean, every wave. When there's dudes that we missed, not when there's so many Joes that didn't make it again.
Yeah. There was a school of thought at one point, and it was Neil Hoffman who he was the brand manager at the beginning of the Valor versus Venom through Sigma 6 era. And I asked Neil about that one time. I said, okay, so what's the deal? Why is there like Snake Eyes, Duke, whatever, one of those for every wave? And he said, there are certain core characters that they wanted, if you were going to have peg warmers, they wanted it to be some character that was recognizable, that would sit around a little bit, because he said back then, if your pegs were empty and Walmart had a ton of stuff from something else, your peg space was not guaranteed.
Right, yeah, they would just fill it with some Transformers or some Star Wars guys or whatever they had laying around.
So they factored in certain characters that were the core of the brand that would be peg warmers to hold your space. The only problem
until the next wave showed up, 6 months later, the new wave would come out. You still got your 5 or 6 dedicated pegs from the planogram.
But the only thing where that backfired, Mattel did that with the 2002 Masters of the Universe. And they do a case of like, one of each of the new characters and then 4 He-Man and 4 Skeletor. And after a while, man, they were just choking on He-Man and Skeletor like crazy.
Right. But, I always wished I was one of the guys at Hasbro that could cut, because I would have been like, what, we need to do like a 4-pack of bats with a school bus, or, it's just something else. Like have a short bus that they could come out of the back of it, like in the episode, or
oh my God, yes.
That's the stuff I think I would have loved to have seen Hasbro come up with, is like a collector's thing. If they did an online type collector core type thing, it's like, let's get some of the little zany weird stuff out. Let's get a proper size mass device.
What like about those?
A scaled one for the 3 3/4 inch figures. Let's get a big mass device toy. That would be dope. I'd pay a couple $100 for that.
Man, I want those big snake robots from Revenge of Cobra from the Temple.
Why did they never do like the big giant C1? Like, I don't know if you've seen those True Hero stuff that Toys R Us used to have. They had that C-130. That thing was begging for a snake head to be on the front of it, and it could have been the Cobra plane, I mean, just have the thing opened up in the front. You could pull, put his tanks inside of it or something.
Well, if you think about it, this is the line that took no chances and that went for things to suck up large amounts of shelf space just to secure, back in Kirk's era with the Defiant, the Terror Drone, the Flag, I mean,
Yeah, but so a lot of times they weren't ever on display because they would do or they would have a picture of it, and then they'd have like the pull tag at Toys R Us, and they'd have to go get one out of the back because there's just no way you're putting that giant ass flag box out on a shelf. I mean,
well, you're booting a whole nother toy line to stock the flag,
right?
It's so damn big.
I just got a flag too, so I joined the club, the flag club. Finally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If you haven't done it yet, do the G.I. Joeberg modification.
Is that the thing where you do like the raise it up and have the stuff? Yeah, I'm totally going to do that. I saw that video.
Because when I was a kid and I had it, like the flag was it was basically cool, but it was like completely useless underneath. And
yeah, right.
Popping that up and putting it on the casters, I'm like, man, now this thing it's more mobile. And
right,
you
but
can actually do something.
You can actually wheel that big bastard out of the way for company.
Yeah. Sorry,
I bought it like 3-4 months ago. It's just still sitting in pieces in a box because I'm just like, what? There's a moment where after you've bought it, you're like, what the hell was I thinking with this thing, man?
Yeah.
Has my obsession gone this far? And then the next thing you think is like, now I need a Defiant, like a shuttle complex.
It always
and a Terror Dome.
Oh, the Terror Dome was fantastic because no matter which way you approached it, it was a fully realized playset.
Sure.
It wasn't one of those like when you were a kid, oh, Cobra can just go around the side. Nope. On the Terror Dome, it is full 360 all the way.
See, and that again raises up I wish Hasbro Collector Core would be a thing. And, because like you look at like Kenner, they did the job of Sail Barge, and I'm like, they did a pre-sale for it. They just said, hey, if X amount of people put enough money up front, we'll build this big thing, man, and we'll give it to you. And I'm like, that's awesome. Why aren't we doing this with Joe stuff, man? Like, hey.
Masters of the Universe Classics did Castle Grayskull for the new scale.
Oh, my God. It's awesome. That thing is amazing, man.
Yeah.
And they're doing Snake Mountain right now.
And you're kind of like, okay, so, Hasbro, you've got a fan base. You've got an online platform. Would it kill you to give me like the Viper and a couple of cartoon specific things or, just, more play set type stuff like that? Yeah, absolutely.
Like sell me a giant pyramid with a snake head and a cannon in it, like, so I got
yeah.
Like, what figure they should have done is that big Conan knockoff, where like him and Duke were with the headbands. Like, where is that 2-pack of those guys? Like Duke and this big giant, like half retarded guy he was fighting in that pit. It's like, let's get that guy out.
How tall was that guy? Holy crap! How tall was that guy? Because if you actually look in there,
he was like 8 feet tall and like all roided out and juiced up and yoked up.
Like the shot of the Viper's carrying him, and I'm like, that Viper is the size of his thigh. Like, right. The blue shirt. I'm like, what the crap?
Right, but yeah, that's the stuff I'd love to see Hasbro be doing, on a regular. Like, just give me something bizarre. Like, do that whole pit. Like, just do a playset pit. With the walls and have the little headbands you could put on your Joes and have the little skybox for Cobra and Destro to hang out in.
The arena of sport. It's in every. Yeah. How many times has that shown up in G.I. Joe?
Right.
Like 2 of the miniseries.
They always got like some weird contest thing where, like, if you just would have shot them in the head and gotten it over with, you probably would have won. Yeah. Put them on their knees and shoot them in the back of the head execution style, and Duke would not have been able to thwart your master plan yet again, It's like, but that was the allure of G.I. Joe. That's what made it fun. It's like, all right, I would have loved to have seen, like, I would have loved to, here, I bought like 6 of these recently just because I want all of my Dreadnoks to have the little Zartan skiff bike again.
Yeah.
Here's this thing. Why didn't we got that lame one that came with the Zartan figure, but it was like the little half-size one that he didn't fit on. But like, do a box set of these guys. Give me like all the Dreadnoks with this little swamp skiff.
I'm surprised those weren't part of Hasbro Direct's mail away. Because, that was a thing back in the day. If you collected flag points.
I would have loved to have seen this at a JoeCon. This would have been rad, This would have been a cool thing. People would have been buying this thing up in Chattanooga if you would have had like 3 of them in a pack or something.
Well, they can't say that it's impossible to retool because there are some really good fan castings of that out there that I've seen where, like, there's one that guy didn't glow in the dark plastic.
Oh man, that
How
thing
awesome is that? I would buy that thing in glow in the
green,
dark.
and then he did them in brown too. Because remember, the brown ones did change color, didn't they?
Yes.
Wasn't it
Yeah.
the beige ones that turned purple?
Yeah, I'd buy
And that's
that in a
awesome.
heartbeat. So.
Where's Chicken Fried Toys? Let's get John on the phone. Let's get him to make us. John, I know you're watching, man. Where's my Zartan skiff, bro? Let's do this.
I kind of wish in some ways like Hasbro would just let some of the, even like a Marauder or somebody license some of this out for a fee.
Well, I mean,
just let them make these accessories for us.
Yeah, like look at the stuff like Super 7 is doing for Mattel right now. Like those He-Man figures are sick, man. I'm going to end up buying all those. And I don't need to start another collection, but I'm going to. There's no Joes for me to buy right now, you know? I mean, what, you know. The rumor mill I've been reading, though, is that 2020 we're going to get figures on the pegs again. And I'm like, well that's, but where? You know, Toys R Us is gone.
I think that's supposed to be tied to the new movie, but, you know, just honestly at this point, it's going to be whatever direction the new movie is. And you know.
And now even Money's saying it's going to be a Snake Eyes origin story. About Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and Zartan, I guess, would be in that mix, and the Hard Master, and why they became feuding enemies. And that would be cool. I'd be in for it, but it'd be a very limited product base for retail.
Yeah. And honestly, Snake Eyes, it's kind of like Wolverine in Marvel Comics, and this is my own personal. You know, I grew up in the Claremont, Larry Hama writing the Wolverine issues. You know,
late 80s, 90s, Wolverine was the man.
Yeah, we'd get snippets of what may or may not be his past, but the minute they did Wolverine Origins, he got less interesting. The minute they said, oh no, here's his definitive origin. Nah, mystery, man. That's why I liked with Snake Eyes. There was always, they left a little bit of mystery in there.
Well, that was the problem with Solo. Don't get me wrong. It was a great Star Wars movie, and I loved it. I thought it was great, but it's like Han Solo's the mysterious gunslinger that comes into town to help out. Like, you don't want to know the origin, man. It kind of demystifies his whole backstory. It's like he's not interesting anymore if you know where Snake Eyes came from, and you know why he's not speaking, and you know why he's doing this, that, and the other. It's kind of like, you know, leave him to be the weird, mysterious ninja, you know?
There's this weird tendency, and especially when you're doing any kind of prequel media, that you feel the need to connect all the dots. You know, Solo, they had to say that, you know, his name Han Solo was not, you know, wasn't something, that's not his real name. It was a name that was chosen for him. Or, you know, the end of Rogue One, we have to see the plans physically handed to Princess Leia. Oh, because the audience isn't going to get it. And I'm like, I hate that. It's like,
I don't know. I thought that was pretty damn cool, actually.
I'm sorry, but
Vader whacks like 30 fucking guys. Oh, sorry, like in a hallway, you know. So that was awesome. Like, yeah, I liked Rogue One.
I gotta admit, Rogue One was pretty freaking badass movie. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed any other Star Wars movie they did.
Yeah, I liked Rogue One. I thought that movie was really well done. And I like it because it was a one-shot, because there's like, no, we're not going to do another sequel. We're not going to do another one with this guy.
Hold on. They did do a sequel. It started into the other movies, and they kept going and going.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's what a lot of people said. But I thought, like you said, at the very end, you know, Vader shows up, starts choking people out, and, you know, they hand the plans off, you know, and that was just, I just thought the whole movie was a good movie.
What
they made it a war movie, which is what it's supposed to be. It was like Saving Private Ryan in space.
What always mystifies me with G.I. Joe when it comes to film is, okay, and Marvel, I think Marvel's getting this. You know, Marvel is adapting elements of comic stories in their MCU films.
Sure.
And, you know, you have 155 issues of Marvel. You have, 30-some special missions. And yet, when they bring Joe to film, it's like Hollywood's like, what do we base it on, you know? And
it's over stylized. They're trying to reinvent the wheel. It's like the costumes. I don't know. I mean, granted, you can't have, like, you know, some of these Joes and some of their outfits were kind of ridiculous. Like, you wouldn't have Quick Kick just walking around in some, you know, karate pants and barefoot all day, like going Bruce Lee all over the place. But then again, he did that in a cartoon. Like, he'd be out in the middle of Antarctica wearing like no boots and like no shirt. I'm like, come on, man. I mean, I'm a 10-year-old, but I at least know that's not possible.
I mean,
but I think that they're overthinking these movies, man. It's just like, and it's like if you look at G.I. Joe 2, it was the Retaliation movie was good, but the problem was it's like they were like, okay, well, I think there was probably a board meeting, and they were like, all right, well, what characters are we going to put in this movie? And they're like, well, we've got these guys, and we've got these girls, and we've got these guys. I'm like, well, we only have room for one, so let's like just mash Scarlet, Lady J, and CoverGirl into one character and put her out there, and then we'll take Roadblock and Gung Ho and Heavy Duty, and we'll mash them into one character and put him in there.
Yeah,
and it's they're taking away the flavor of G.I. Joe. The variety was what made it so cool. You know, there was all these different specialists for different things from different parts of the world.
And to me, G.I. Joe has the potential to be this incredible film franchise where G.I. Joe is the core element of it. But like you just said, one movie is almost a special mission style. You know, it could be, you could franchise it like they're trying to do with Star Wars. You have your numbered movies, which are your big arc, and then you do these standalone films. Well, with Joe, your standalones would be, here's a special mission style movie. And this gives you a chance to see, you know, Recondo and Ambush and Lowlight and Spirit down in South America remaking Predator or what have you. And
I agree.
Because, you know, to me, one of the best near G.I. Joe movies that we've had, that I've seen in years, watch the opening gambit of Expendables 2.
Yeah.
That is a Joe movie. You have all these specialists. You get some vehicle play in there. They go in, they bust up something, they get out. And I'm like, man, I found that to be way more exciting than either of the Joe films.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like you watch the Joe films and like, really would it have been that difficult to paint an A-10 Thunderbolt blue and call it a Rattler? Yeah. I mean, it's like an actual plane that we're still using. Like, why couldn't Cobra have blue Rattler jets? Why couldn't we have like an SR-71 Night Raven? They all, again, it's over stylized, and they're thinking way too hard about this. And I think it's people get involved in those movies that don't know anything about the franchise anyway. They're like, okay, it's a cartoon, so let's make this his tank, but let's not use the iconic one that everybody wants to see in the movie. Let's turn it into this weird like tank tread with a rising cannon feature and all that.
That was pretty lame.
Well, and again, you know, and the other thing,
I guess that sells toys. Don't get me wrong, because the His Tank 2 toy was rad, but I mean, it's like I wanted the old school, crappy triangle tank thing from the '80s.
Well, and the other thing too is all of these movies feel the need to be this origin for both G.I. Joe and Cobra. And you know, when I always hate, one of the things I always hated about superhero movies when I was growing up, because there weren't very many good ones, is they were always origin films. So you'd have to watch this 2-hour thing knowing that you're going to see the character in that you want to see in the last 20 minutes. And everything else is this slow build up. You know what?
Marvel has really reset the standard, because they're like, screw that. Spider-Man Homecoming, he's going full, hitting the ground running, man.
Exactly.
And it was awesome. You know, it's like if my mother can tell you the origin of Batman, you don't have to do it again, man. Yes. We got it. Yeah. What rock has your kid been under? You know what I mean? It's like,
and again, it's just like trying to do all these origins. That's your runtime. Just drop us into something. You know, the best thing you could do is, okay, if you want to do an audience perspective introduction, here's, I don't know, some rookie character, and it's his first mission with the Joes, but everything's established, and he's just being dropped into it. And we don't have to tell you who Cobra is. Cobra's bad.
Right. The
Joe's good.
Give it away. Like, you don't want nothing to do with that iconic snake logo. If you see that, you run like hell.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's funny you should mention how you just dropped into a storyline. You know, and this is going completely off the subject, but look at recent events with the DC universe. The movie verse, where they're pretty much, it's over with now in some aspects, or you know, and there's all these new pictures of the Joker, the new Joker being played. You got a new Joker, you got Superman gone, you got Batman being recasted. It's like you're just but the only thing that's current is Wonder Woman.
You know what's funny about DC? And this is just my own 2 cents. I grew up And before I started reading comics, I knew the Justice League because of a little cartoon series called the Super Friends, which ran for like 13 years in various incarnations. You know, every year they would re-up. So you have a whole generation of people that there was hardly any Marvel animation. You know, we got Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in the 80s. We got that short-lived Hulk series. But DC was everywhere at that point with the Super Friends and that. And then why does DC have a hard time going, oh, people, you know, how can you not bring the Justice League to
what sucks about the DC movies is like they're trying to do all these origin films and they're taking that away from me. You know, it's like if I have a kid, and I do, I have 2 little ones. You know, I'm like, I want to be the one to tell them about Batman. Why is Batman so cool? They're trying to do all the work for us. It's like, just drop us into the Batman movie, and then on the ride home, the kids are going to be like, well, who's this Joker guy? What was his deal? Well, the origin was this, you know, or this is why he doesn't like Superman, or this is why the Aquaman can't do this. You know, I mean, it's like they're taking that away. Like, and it is like a parent, you know, that's probably the best part is passing that on to the next generation, man.
Exactly.
Kid. I want to explain it to them. You know, I want them to like the guys I like, you know?
Yeah. And
you know,
DC just is struggling.
Yeah, it's just they can't. The other massive problem they have at DC is they don't have a Kevin Feige up there helming the whole ship. That's the biggest problem they've got. They've got, you know, too many Chiefs and not enough Indians, so to speak. It's not enough. You know, there's nobody steering the course. Like, there's not a plot outline that we're following at this point. Because, you know, you read stories online, like Marvel's got their plan up through like 2029 at this point. Like every movie that they're going to do in TV show, it's like, that's crazy, man. Who does that?
And even
people who got their shit together. That's
even with the Fox acquisition, you know, Feige is he's dropped hints here and there. He's going to incorporate them in, but it's going to be a little ways down. And I think he always had a backup plan for that.
We have just discovered that the Fox plan was going down. They have probably known for about 2 years because that crap doesn't happen overnight. That kind of money and that kind of merger. He knew 2-3 years ago, probably during the first or second Avengers movie, that this was in the works. So it's like Mike said, they got their shit together, man. They just know.
And the best part about that merger, you know, people are like, oh, the Fantastic Four, yay, and the X-Men. And I'm like, nope. There's one character that I'm waiting to see Feige bring and do justice on the big screen because he has the potential. Doom. Hell yeah. Doom has the potential to be their greatest villain.
It's very proper comic book Doom, world-threatening Dr. Doom. Like, if I can't control the planet, I'm going to kill everyone on it, Dr. Doom, you know? That worldwide threat, like every Avenger, every Marvel superhero needs to be there to stop this lunatic, and I hope it happens too, man. I was thinking the exact same when you said it. I was like, my second backup would be Galactus.
Yeah, they did. When I was a big fan of the animated Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes series,
right?
But they did only 2 seasons, and the second season opener opens with Doom, and you know it was, and the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, they all bust into his place, and Doom pretty much lays all of them flat. And, you know, they're still fighting, and all of a sudden he just sits down and he stops fighting. He's like, okay, you can go now. And they're all like, wait, what? And it's Doom lured them there because he wanted to see who were among them were Skrulls. That was it. And it was, okay, he's done. You can go. So they didn't so much win, they were dismissed. And I thought, that is so quintessentially Doom. It's
Just hosing them for the sake of being able to do it. It's like, I know.
And that's what I think Feige is the man enough that he gets that I think we are going to get my hope would be for one of their phases, it's pretty much Victor Von Doom is in every freaking film in some context.
Cookie at the end of the credits until you get to this massive battle with Doom in a movie with the Avengers or something.
And, you know, I don't care who you cast for him physically. I just want the voice.
Yeah.
You cast someone with a killer voice who will never speak of himself as I, will always be, and Doom is done with you. You know, something like that. I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
So that would be amazing.
So yeah, we've kind of gotten off the Joe track again.
Damn it.
Now, just the way we were talking, I was like, that was just the perfect example for it. Was that right there? So.
That's
So I have to ask, and this is for both of you. Are you reading the IDW books right now?
No.
What do you think?
I'm getting them, and I have not read them.
I'd like to, but I've got like no time.
Yeah.
I usually wait till the trade paperbacks come out too, because I like to just get the whole thing. I used to be able to hit the comic book store like every week, and then nowadays it's once a month. So my best bet is to wait to the end. I would love to see them do a movie of the again. This comes back to Hasbro. Where the hell is the GI Joe Transformers versus movie? Like, why? This is just like a gold mine sitting. You remember like Freddy versus Jason? I mean, look how excited we were over that piece of crap. And I love that movie. I thought it was fantastic. But if any properties needed to do a crossover, and it looked like they were going to do that in the first Transformers movie. Those Marine guys looked like they were going to turn them into Joes at some point.
They essentially were Duke and Roadblock, and I mean, you had the team right there.
The archetypes were already there, man. And I think it was Michael Bay that was the one that shut that down. He didn't want him to do that as part of his franchise. It's like, man, you're retarded, man. You need
Which is weird because Bay is usually so pro military, and he has such a great relationship with DoD that is one time where I'm like, wait, Bay? You want to put Bay on a project? Why is Bay not helming G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Holy crap. You would get, I mean, he'd basically call up DOD and they'd be like, what do you need? Because the first Transformers, we had the F-22 Raptors on the ground. We had the Ospreys. We had the Stratofortress. It's like, it was amazing.
You would have Transformer toys that would be like G.I. Joe vehicles that you could tie in with a product line. It's like, that's another toy line. I'm like, why haven't we got like a Autobot that turns into an Ostriker or a Vamp Jeep? I mean, it just would be so easy to pull off.
One of the coolest things I ever remember is when Devil's Due had the line, and they did their G.I. Joe Transformers crossover where Cobra got into the arc first.
That's where my Storm Shadow tattoo came from. That was the one where he was standing on Soundwave's face.
God.
Yeah.
I loved everything about that, including the combined Cobra Decepticon logo. I loved Cobra Commander with Megatron in gun form, locked in gun form on his hip. Cobra Commander taunting him while he's flying around in Starscream. Like, yes.
So good. It was so good. Like, and again, like, why is this not a movie?
No.
Why couldn't it at least been a really Netflix again? Get on this. Make a really bitchin' animated series out of Transformers versus G.I. Joe. Get DreamWorks on that one, man.
Here's a thought.
It was great, and I love Voltron, but let's get the Joes and the Transformers mixing it up.
Hasbro, instead of trying to do a live action of all your franchises, what if you just partnered with Netflix and did an animated universe? So you do a G.I. Joe season, you do a Transformers season, and then you do your version of the Avengers, and you bring them together for a 6-parter.
And you throw Mask into the mix just to mix it up a little bit. Just have the vehicle, the offshoot of G.I. Joe, Mask.
That literally, that's what I see Mask being. Is it's like, okay, after G.I. Joe and the Transformers have
that's your special operations movie. It's like, okay, you got G.I. Joe 1, 2, 3, and then you go, okay, well, here's Mask. This is this other group that they use Transformer technology to make these vehicles happen, so they could be covert.
Yeah, non-sentient Transformers is what they are.
I wish that Hasbro would make 1/18 scale Mask figures and vehicles. I think that would be an awesome addition to my G.I. Joe collection. I would love to have, Matt Tracker and all that stuff, the motorcycles and
the Rhino. I always wanted the Rhino for Joe. I wanted that big honking semi just to come barreling down.
Yeah, it would be killer. Yeah, that Venom Rhino vehicle.
Oh, my God.
I still think Boulder Hill playset is one of the coolest playsets ever made.
And again, just too short.
Yeah, just too short, just a little bit too off, man. To have my G.I. Joes hanging out in there with them.
If you even look at when it goes to bunker mode, the design aesthetics are so close to the Sunbow Joe headquarters. Like you can see them in the same universe.
the guns coming out of the gas pump signs, and like it was just awesome. Like, come on, Hasbro, quit screwing around. I'm 40. I need this stuff before it's too late. I'm gonna get too old for this shit. No, I'm not gonna have it. I'm gonna be on retirement money. I'm gonna be able to buy none of it. Now stop screwing around already. Let's go.
It's pretty bad right now when the bulk of my retail toy buying comes down to what Mattel Jurassic Park items I can find in stores. So it's like, yeah, Hasbro, come on. Hit me up, man. You know I'm good for it.
We're limited to Walmart's selection of Jurassic Park stuff and overpriced Marvel Legend figures that I can't afford and have room for.
I remember when Marvel Legends started out, they were $6 a piece.
Yeah, I remember, and I bought them with Toy Biz, man. They were awesome. $7.99, $8.99, and now they're $24.99. Now they're going to go up to $29.99. I'm like, no.
Yeah. And they came with a comic and a display stand.
Right, and now the paint decos are crap on them. They're cheaper plastics. They don't look as good as the Toy Biz stuff was 20 years ago. I mean, It hurts my feelings.
Well, there's a lot to do with where they're being manufactured at, though.
So what do you think of them trying to do like a Black Series for G.I. Joe and make them 6-inch figures? Would you guys be game?
I
would. People, the word is out there, Fred. People want 6-inch G.I. Joes.
Okay, hold on. No, you know who started this? That whole rumor and a whole 6-inch thing started years ago on His Tank, because the admins of His Tank were big Marvel Legends guys, and they planted that seed. Do you know what's going to happen if Hasbro can't sell vehicles in the 6-inch scale for Star Wars? That was a bomb. So you tell me that people are going to start all over 6-inch Joes. You tell me they're going to troop build at $24, $30 a pop on blue shirts. And you're telling me that they're going to buy a Vamp that's probably a $60 vehicle lowball? Nope. No,
I wouldn't do it either. People about how they want 6-inch Joe figures. I'm like, you're crazy. There's the space.
It's a minority.
I would think
well, you remember a few years ago? Do you remember back, like maybe around the early '90s? They did those 12-inch GI Joes of the cartoon characters.
Yeah,
like they were collector's edition. They would be like Storm Shadow and Stalker and Gung Ho, and they had the cloth outfits, and those were kind of rad. But it's like I don't think people really bought into them. I remember I grabbed a few at KB Toys when they would go on clearance for like $10 or something. I'd pick one up, but I think it would be that kind of thing. It'd be like, yeah, they look cool, but again, what do we do with them now? Because they don't fit in my vehicles. They don't fit on my shelf with the rest of them. They don't fit with anything.
I mean, I loved the Sigma 6 line for kids. I thought the Sigma 6 figures were durable as crap. They had a ton of playability for kids. But you know what? How many mainstream Joe collectors bought Sigma 6? Not that many.
Well, Valor versus Venom, the same thing, because they increased the toy size up again.
Yeah,
they weren't quite 3 3/4 anymore. They were like 4 inches, weren't they?
They've been pushing the scale up, even with the 25th stuff. You look at the first 25th Snake Eyes, and you look at the last Snake Eyes released, and he's taller because they pushed it into a 4-inch scale. But the thing is, what made G.I. Joe better than anything was posability, and then all the stuff for it. G.I. Joe, I could go out and buy a vehicle. I could go out and I could buy a little bunker with some missiles. I could go out and buy an F-14 Tomcat, or I could go out and buy a ton of figures or a motorcycle. I had this huge breadth of stuff. You put it in how many Marvel Legends vehicles are there?
Well, they started doing the motorcycles, but it's very limited.
Yeah. And I don't want to build a Vamp. Where you have to get, because that freaking
like nightmare. The DC Direct Action figures. They do the same. There's basically the DC version of Marvel Legends. You see them at Walmart. Like, where's the Invisible Jet, man?
Yeah,
you won't ever see it.
Hey, Funko made an Invisible Jet.
Funko made an awesome one though. That was dope. I have that one, but again, it's Funko. Funko Pops are $10.
And the Funko Invisible Jet that I have, the figure's only 2 inches.
Yeah, it's like a smaller version of it too.
Did you buy that one at the show?
What's that?
Did you buy that one at the show last weekend?
No. Kelly, she's obsessed with Wonder Woman, so I got it for her for Christmas.
Oh, I think for a second there was a guy right down from
Yeah.
Malibu. He had the one. I almost bought it, and I wish I did.
Yeah, that thing's awesome. It's one of my favorite Funko pieces, I think.
And Mike, think about this too. Remember when Mattel did the Batman 66 6-inch figures? The Batmobile. Look how big that damn thing was.
I have that thing. It's sitting over there on my shelf right now. The Batwing was the really impressive one. That thing was like it was massive. It's like a garbage can lid.
Yeah. But,
that
but we have nowhere to put it, though.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, it's still sitting in the box. I've never...
That was the problem with the TIE Fighters from Force Awakens in the 6-inch. The black TIE Fighters. I mean, they're cool. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome detailed.
If you look behind me, I've got most of the Batman 6-inch figures, but I love the Batman animated series anyway. That was probably my favorite cartoon of all time. And those figures are great, but you're right, man. That Batwing and that Batmobile is probably like 3 feet long. I mean, that thing is disgustingly huge. And it's like, yeah, it's cool. I've got one, but what do I do with him? It's kind of like the flag. What do you do with it?
Yeah. The 4-inch scale. And I look in the shelves I have in my basement, and I used to be a big Marvel Legends guy.
Oh, I had a ton of them, man.
When Marvel Universe came out, I swapped out a lot of them because 4-inch, I can have a shelf this long and have the entire Avengers and the X-Men and all of them crammed into one.
Right.
I can have so much stuff in one section.
You can't mix and match figures. You want all your teams together. You want the X-Men Blue team, the X-Men Gold team, the Avengers, West Coast Avengers.
And with 4-inch, your price point's lower, so collectors can afford to buy more, in theory.
They're not that much lower. What are they, like $14.99 now for one of those things? They're just way too proud. And that scares the hell out of me because I'm like, well, 2020 will roll around, and like, what does that mean the price of the Joes are going to be? Because if you're looking at what they're basing on FSS, you're talking $30-$40 this figure, which is why I didn't do it. I was like, I don't want to buy FSS because there's like 6 figures I don't care about in there, minimum. They're just repainted guys or Tiger Force, which I didn't care for. And
I know you did say that.
Did I just bring up a sore feature here?
See, Mike is upset because I always crap on Kitty Patrol every chance I can get.
Tiger Force don't do it for me, Mike. Sorry, man.
Vindication!
You're not the only one, Fred.
It's real tears. You know what?
Real Tears is getting like a repainted roadblock with some janky paint deco, man. That's what Real Tears.
Why the hell was Tiger Force roadblock the FSS 13th when I couldn't even get that as a regular color roadblock?
My phone's about to die. Let's see if I can fix this. Remedy this.
I just the more I think about 6-inch Joe, and it's like, I think the people that want it are a very vocal minority, but I don't think a lot of Joe fans are gonna go in for it. I really don't, because again, you don't want to start over again.
Well, there's that, and again, I think it'd be like I would collect them, and I'm a very firm believer in free your Joes. I'm starting a movement online. Free your toys. Do not keep them in the box. That's lame.
Oh yeah.
I hate people that buy up all the good stuff at Toys R Us or Walmart or wherever you go, and then they've got them all in the box. I mean, yeah, they're cool in the box. Sometimes the art is neat, but if you're not taking them out of the box, that's blasphemy. Free your toys.
I used to keep all my toys in box, and I open a good portion of them now.
Well, that's the lesson I tell everybody, though. I'm like, look what me. I kept all of them in the box since I was a kid, and what had happened? They all burned up in a fire, and where did that get me? Nowhere. It's not like you're going to sell them anyway. I mean, why not play with it or take cool pictures or do something rad with them?
I mean, once in a great while, there has been, like, okay, I ended up getting a second Revolution at San Diego set, only because that was one of the things when the presentation of that was so cool. When you open that up and you're just like, wow. And I wanted
the fact that they had like what, it was 8 Micronauts in that thing. That thing was awesome.
The Micronauts were one of my favorite things because as a kid, I was around for the original Micronauts line. I was a little too young for it for most of it, but I remember the original Micronauts line with Force.
You got to run the Space Knight in that box set. How awesome was that?
Well, and how awesome was it the year before at Comic-Con when Hasbro did the Micronauts reissue set? I went out and bought that in a heartbeat. But you had Orbital Defender and Feroid was in there, and Baron Karza, and I'm like, and they're tiny.
Yeah, they were like big.
Yeah, so there's again, we talked earlier about Hasbro doing something with Netflix and doing like a bunch of animated series. Give me a new Micronaut series. I'll watch the hell out of it.
Yeah, give me some new Rom the Space Knight. Give me something. Give me some new Mask on Netflix.
I'm sad that Rom is no longer part of Marvel, but because he was everywhere in Marvel in the comics.
Right.
But at the same time, yeah, just give me all of these. The only one that I don't know how they're going to fit in is Visionaries.
Right. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that one's kind of a toughie.
That's and Visionaries. I mean, I bought a bootleg of the series about 6 months ago because I honestly had never. I barely remembered it. It's a weird fit. Like it was cool to get my little Leoric figure from Comic-Con. Okay, yay! I want to use your head for Hector Ramirez, but yeah, I don't see how that's gonna.
Yeah, it's going to be Rom the Space Knight versus the Visionaries versus Hungry Hippo. I'm holding my breath on this Hasbro first, man, because I really want it to work. And that's kind of like the same thing with DC film, the DCU. I want to love their movies. I really do.
Yeah.
I really genuinely want to have a good Superman versus Batman, but so far we're getting turds.
I mean, look, I grew up with Christopher Reeve Superman, and I think the problem that DC had is I think they didn't understand the tone of some of these characters. I mean, they made Superman dark.
Right.
Then what the hell does that leave Batman? Really dark? Like,
well, he's got to be like funny dark. Yeah. And Batman's not funny.
Batman in Justice League was painful because Batman, they didn't know what to do with him. So Batman got the crap.
You got 6 other guys that are all dark. It's like, well, you've kind of ripped his gimmick off and cut his nuts out,
When I started reading the Justice League comic again years ago was when Grant Morrison first started writing it. And Morrison's era of Justice League got it. And that is, you have all these powerful people. And in one of the stories, they had Wally West, and it was when Kyle Rayner was GL. And so Kyle Rayner's sitting there and he's like, well, what's Batman going to do? He doesn't really have any powers. And you have Flash going, listen to the new guy over here. And they're like, he's the guy that explains it to all of us.
Sure.
That they got that Batman's power was his brain and his perception and his deductive. And then you get to the Justice League movie and it's like there's this huge fight with all these parademons and like Batman's getting his ass kicked by one of them for like half the fight. And it's just, and then he makes jokes and I'm like, nah, you're done.
It's killing people.
Yeah. No, what's your superpower? I'm rich. What? Only Tony Stark could pull that line off with, well, what are take away the suit, what are you?
Exactly.
Playboy philanthropist.
Yes. Yep. I remember he
like,
pulled it off great.
Then the line worked because he was true.
Yeah, I mean, it's Robert Downey Jr. and he's Robert Downey Jr. is kind of a real life Tony Stark in some ways with his back history. He was the perfect choice to play it. And
if he leaves, I don't know what they're going to do because you just may as well just sink Iron Man for a good 20, 30 years.
I kind of, in some ways, hope that's the direction they do. Is the Marvel Universe has such an impressive cast of characters that you're either going to do one of two things. You're going to go the James Bond route where just a new actor comes in and we're just going to say it's the same guy. Or you're going to move on to another character. And I don't have a problem with that, given some of the other characters that have existed in Marvel. With the Avengers, as much as I love Cap, and I love Captain America, Cap has not always been a part of the Avengers. There have been times when he's the one that's been in there almost the most of the core of the founders, but Cap hasn't always been an Avenger.
Right. You bring in new guys, new Avengers.
Or they could even go the route and they could do U.S. I mean, hell, you could do a movie and introduce U.S. Agent if you did it properly.
Sure. Captain Britain.
Oh, hell yeah.
It would sell overseas really well. But anyway, yeah.
So Mike, how about that Tiger Force movie? You okay with that?
Shut up, Fred.
Tiger Force movie, really?
He's just poking fun at me.
Oh, it's okay. Mike, I heard Thundercats are getting a revival.
Oh
What's that?
God, that was garbage. That's
What's that?
so bad.
Oh, the
Um,
Thundercats reboot. Yeah.
oh my
I
God,
don't know.
that's horrible. Man, I don't know what these people are thinking of nowadays, man. But
Meanwhile, John's got one of the club's best figures right up there.
Yeah, it's like I was just admiring. I just picked him up too. I got a Footloose recently for my birthday.
hope you can get that off the club website for $200.
No, I didn't. I actually no. Where did I get that? I got it for like $60 from some guy.
Wow, that was a steal of a deal.
Okay,
Yeah,
so here's the question with Footloose's head that was I couldn't believe this was a thing. Tom Selleck or Burt Reynolds?
Ooh,
What if this was going to be one of those two guys? I'd say it looks more like Tom Selleck.
There was a big thing about who that head was based on, and people were saying Burt Reynolds, and I'm going, no, that's Tom. That's Magnum PI right there.
If you painted that mustache black, that's Tom Selleck all
That
the
is-
way. He's got the full-on caterpillar, man.
You pop that on a Chuckles figure, you've
Oh,
got
yeah.
Thomas Magnum right there.
but that ain't the new Magnum PI.
Oh,
I think that show's going to be awesome.
Do you really?
I want to see it. You know what? When they called me to be on MacGyver, I was like, hell, you going to bring back like Airwolf or anything? What else you got on the deck,
If
When are we going to get like a really good Knight Rider remake, man? Not like the weird one with the semi-truck and the Corvette and the whatever it was, the motorcycle kit.
I'm the only thing with the new Magnum that
So
bugs
I'm
me-
driving around in a 57 Chevy version of Kit. Like, come on.
Oh, Knight Rider 2000. Holy
That shit
crap.
was terrible.
The only thing that worries me with new Magnum is Higgins was always a father figure to Thomas before,
Sure.
and now Higgins is a potential love interest.
Hmm.
And the other thing that's a little weird for me is that I think it's some of these reboots, they almost make them too serious. And one of the best things about Magnum PI was Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck was just a dude. He was that kind of casual, laid back kind of guy.
Sure.
He brought a lot of humor to it. So
Let's wrap this back around again. Let's talk about Joe Fest again, because I think, again, we've been talking about all these movies. We got off on my crap, but nobody wants to hear about me. Let's talk about G.I. Joe's. Let's talk about Joe Fest.
Well, I mean,
We're going to have to wrap
maybe
this
I'll
up in the next 10 minutes, so let's bring it back around.
So I think we've all pretty much established Joe Fest is
Joe Con.
it's
2.0.
the successor. Yeah, it is a less product centric version of what Joe Con was.
And as good as the guys that did Joe Con were, and I give it up to all those guys. I met most of them while we were there. Great crew. I think nobody better than Ed would be a better choice to kind of take that mantle and keep running with it.
Yeah.
Ed Schumacher's really putting his heart and soul into this thing, man. I'm proud of him, man. I'm glad to know him and glad to be a part of it. I can't wait for this thing. June cannot get here fast enough.
I don't think he's done with his guest list.
I don't think he is either.
I'm waiting to see more voice actors dropping in. Literally, it's to the point where, well, I look at my watch. It's been like 2 weeks. Has there been a Joe Fest announcement yet?
As stacked as his deck is already, I think it's going to be like, these other voice actors are going to start telling the other guys, and like you're going to get Bill Oppenheimer and all those guys go like, hey, I could turn up for 2 nights.
Yeah,
if Ed does nothing else for this thing, my God, man. Sergeant Slaughter, Dial Tone, Storm Shadow. Kurt, you got Larry Hama.
Crap.
Dial Tone's the one I'm going to have to find me a carded Dial Tone now.
Yeah, that's been my hunt. I might have to break the internet rule. I foolishly was in North Carolina for Charlotte Comic-Con about a month ago, and a guy had the Japanese Dial Tone for $40 on the card.
Oh, wow.
If I had known then what I knew now, I would totally scoop that thing up from him just so I could get a guy to sign that for me.
Here's a question, Fred and John. If you're both going to Joe Fest, what are you bringing, or what do you hope to find to get autographed by Slaughter?
That's a tough one too, man. Damn, it's just like, wow. So I have an autographed 8x10 from his wrestling stuff, so I don't know, man. Usually I'm kind of a weird oddball when I find stuff like that. Like I'm not a big signature hound anyway, to be honest. I meet a lot of these guys at different shows, and you speak back and forth. It's like professional courtesy. So I've got a lot of autographs, but I always have them made out to me because I'm like, we're gonna sell it anyway. So that's just retarded. Why would you even, I'm gonna sign this Sergeant Slaughter pop, and then I'm gonna turn around and flip it on eBay or something. That's lame. I would never buy an autograph from somebody either. Like, I don't generally do that either because it's like, well, if I didn't meet them, then where's the experience? I would never buy a Stanley autographed comic, but I would love to meet him and have him sign one.
It's funny you mentioned the pop was at Roman Collectibles. We had posted a couple of things, and he actually went on. I'm pretty sure he went to Entertainment Earth, and he ordered, I think he said 3 or 6 cases of Sergeant Slaughter pops.
Yeah.
I actually have I don't know where it's at, but it's somewhere in this room. I have a Slaughter pop that I plan on taking, and I also have my WWE Universal Championship belt, replica belt. I plan on taking. I'm going to take both of them.
I
thought about taking my Triple T. It's not in the box. It's just the free open toy or whatever. But if he signed the Triple T, I thought that'd be kind of rad.
He was
at least I do have the San Diego Comic-Con Sergeant Slaughter modern figure. I could get him to sign the card, the file card. That'd be kind of rad. But I don't know.
I had Sarge.
A lot of that too also depends on how much do they charge for that sort of thing. So
Sarge was at a local ballpark. He was at we have a Class A Cardinals franchise
team,
and he was there a couple of years ago. And so I took my Comic-Con figures with me. And the thing about Sarge's is like there's this whole line of all these people getting wrestling stuff. And I walk up there, and it's like, here's this guy. There were kids ahead of me with wrestling stuff. I show up with my Tupperware container. Don't judge. And I open it up, and there's my 2 Comic-Con figures. He lit up like a Christmas tree at seeing Joe stuff, and he signed the front of the card, and then he flips it around because there's the letter from Sarge on the back.
Sure.
And he signed his signature again where it would be on the letter. And then he gets up on the table. He's like, "You want to be in the Cobra Clutch?" And he comes around, and it's like he is so amazingly proud of his time being associated with G.I. Joe.
Well, he got fired from the WWE over that.
Yeah.
So Vince basically gave him the ultimatum, as the story I had read, is basically like, hey, I've got this LJ and toy line. You can't be a toy over there and compete with our toys. And he was like, well, sorry. I'm going to go be a G.I. Joe.
I get to be a G.I. Joe once in my life. And, it was all about the example he was going to set for kids. And,
right.
And if you see him, he is the greatest guest to watch with kids. Like, if a kid walks up to him with something, the rest of the room ceases to matter. And he gets so one-on-one with that kid and makes that kid feel like the center of the universe.
When I grew up, my dad, a lot of my family was enlisted military, so being a brat, like Sergeant Slaughter meant something to me, man. That's just, he was the G.I. Joe. He was the epitome of him. Even when in the midst of Hulkamania as a kid, I thought Sergeant Slaughter was really the red, white, and blue banner,
Hell yeah.
If you listen to the tagline of G.I. Joe, he's fighting for freedom wherever there's trouble, and that spoke to me, man. I mean, that's awesome. Like, that's about as dope as you can get it for a superhero, man.
If you guys want to get something else, if you ever wanted a book to have any of these guys sign, I can't think, I'm blanking on the title, but Jim Sorensen did those books they were the animation models from the Joe and then Cobra and all that. And I have those. And I took them to the couple of the Joe Cons where they did have voice actors, and all those characters have a page.
Yeah.
And so nothing else. I think that's what I'll take and have start, because he signed my comic.
My buddy's got that, World Press coffee table book of WWE, like every wrestler from 1979 to current or whatever. Yeah. And that's what he takes to shows, because we run into guys all the time. My bro comes with me a lot, and he'll be like Jake the Snake or Hacksaw Jim Dugan. Somebody will be there, and he just goes to their page in the book, and that's what they sign. He's got a ton of them, but with Sergeant Slaughter, that's a tough call. I'm really having to think about that one for the next 6 months. Like, what?
I'm going to be taking.
I've got a Leatherneck figure on the card for Ron Rudat, because I got Hama to sign a Tunnel Rat. I got Kirk to sign a Law and Order at Joe Con. I've got a weird little collection of Joe figures from the actual likeness guys of the guys. But Yeah, I would have to drop some serious coin on another Sergeant Slaughter carded figure, and it was hard enough getting one out of the box. Yes.
I hear you on that one. I know it's going to be hard for us to decide how we're going to do it because we're actually taking a vacation. We're actually going to go to Disney before the convention.
No, you're a wise man to do it before the convention. I'll give you wise points for that one because she knows you're going to blow all the vacation money at Joe Fest.
Hell yeah.
Well, we're going to fly down there, the four of us, and then me, Sarah, and Gracie will fly back up to Atlanta, and then we'll send Logan on home because she's old enough to go, she has to go to work in the school and everything. Yeah, she's doing summer school, I guess. But anyways, that's the plan. So it's kind of like holding on to it, make sure nothing happens to it as we're on vacation.
Do you guys feel with Joe Fest, are we going to see the international people showing up? Some of these guys from JoeCon, these legendary attendees that show up every year.
You might.
What's that?
You might, because if you think about it, it's going to cost them
significantly less.
Yeah. Take out airfare, which is when you're international, that's part of it. But
now you're not paying $600-700 to get into the damn con. So It's like now you've got another $600-700. You can get a hotel room. You can get more stuff.
Here's something. Joe Fest is going to be cheaper for him.
I think what's going to happen with Joe Fest is that he already went to a bigger venue, and now people are going to realize Joe Con's over with. I got no Joe, nothing. So here is a very reasonably priced show. And CoilCon, but I'm saying on that side of the country, you're going to have people who are going to come out in full force.
Yeah.
All the people who are already coming out, such as me and Fred, and you have Joe Colton, Mary Mercer, you got
the whole finest crew coming out.
You got a full force Chris coming. You got a lot of people coming. You're bringing a lot of the JoeCon crew that come. A lot of the fans are still going to come, I think. And I think what's going to happen is that he's going to double his attendance again. And he's going to find from what I've read on Facebook,
I will tell you this.
He's already he's moving it again already.
2 days next year. That's my prediction. 2 days.
It's 2 days this year.
It's a Friday night and Saturday. Well, I'll tell you this, though, because like I said, I went to the first one, man. And, I was like, Augusta, Georgia, that's pretty cool, whatever. I figured it was going to be like a couple of hundred people, small con in this hotel. Yeah. And I really looked at it as like, you were 30 years ago when I was a kid, I'd go to a Comic-Con. It'd be like a Ramada Inn on the side of the freeway. And you might have like Scotty from Star Trek and then a bunch of comic book guys. But man, he blew the doors off that place. You could not walk in there. It was tighter than a dolphin's butt in that building. I mean, watertight. You could not move, man.
Yeah.
And that was like all weekend. It was insane. And now I call him up about 6 months ago, and he's telling me, I'm doing the second one, but now I got the convention center, and I think he said it was like 3,000 or 4,000 square feet. I'm like, oh, cool. So you're really kind of blowing it up now. And he goes, yeah. And then about a month later, he says, now I've got like half the convention center because there was too many vendors, and now it's like 6,000-7,000 feet. Now I was like, and then the last time I heard it was like 12,000 feet. He's got the entire convention center in Augusta.
Yep.
And I'm like, Jesus, man, this thing is going to be like insane, man.
A friend of mine works on an event called RetroCon, which is out in Oaks, Pennsylvania every year, and they're on their 6th, I think, this year. And this is my prediction for it is for Joe Fest is when RetroCon started, it was a 1-day event, and they were in, like you said, a small part of a convention center. And every year, we don't know if we're going to do it again. Well, first of all, they had great attendance. And then every year they expanded their footprint a little bigger in this convention center. But then they went to 2 days, and they didn't know if that was going to work. And they packed it out with 2 days. And it is a similar style convention where you don't have you pay your admission, and then there's a dealer's room. There's not like a central toy vendor, but there's the guests and all that. And I think Joe Fest will end up becoming a 2-day event down the road. I think it's going to. I think he'll keep that convention center, and as long as he keeps it where it feels like the fans are the first and foremost, and it's not about making money selling toys. I think he's going to have one hell of a show.
I think it's going to be, he's going to blow the doors off that place. It's going to be an absolute riot in that place. And it's going to be so much fun, man. I'm telling you, I'm really, again, and I hate to keep going back to JoeCon. I really think it's going to have that family vibe. Like everybody's just there having a good time. It's going to be, hell, it may not be a 2-day event, but I guarantee you most of us will still be there on Sunday hanging out anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so...
I will also stress to people who are watching the podcast, this video cast tonight, if you've not pre-sold tickets, show your support for Joe Fest now. Go ahead and get those pre-tickets and let them know that we're supporting it. We're going to be there for Ed and Joe Fest, man.
Hell yeah.
I think go ahead and get it out of the way now. It's just one less cost you'll have to worry about in June.
And if you do the Friday night preview and the Saturday early, I was reading on the website earlier, I believe it's $25, but we'll definitely have it on later on down the road. Probably.
I don't know if he's talked about it yet, but on Friday night, I'm taking all comers on the classic NES video game showdown in the hotel lobby.
Nice.
So yeah, I will have a special trophy of some sort made for Joe Fest if you can take me.
That's funny.
We're gonna have a video game contest, old school retro game contest. We're not playing Smash Brothers. I don't know nothing about that stupid game. I mean, Smash Brothers in the house all day long, but we're gonna be going old school like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, Ice Climber, Joust.
One thing
all comers.
One thing I'm kind of hoping he'll have at Joe Fest again too. They used to do it at JoeCon and they hadn't done it in forever. I want a video room. I want a room with just Sunbow episodes playing all day where it's like, you know what? I need like 10 minutes to go take a break. I'm going to go sit in a room where there's a projector blasting Sunbow on a wall.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. When I do my event, we have TVs around the outside the room, and we have 2 big projector screens come down, and I play movies throughout the whole con.
People loved that. And it was how much cooler would it be to watch the Viper with like 30 or 40 of your Joe buddies all in there, full on Mystery Science Theater riff tracks experience, There
you go.
Amazing.
Well, I think we're going to end up calling it a show. We're going almost 2 hours since we went on. A couple things.
Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to. That's the worst thing about doing cons with me because people they'll come up to the table and I'll have them for 45 minutes just BS, and so I love it. But I'm a nerd, man. I have no problem with my station in life. If you get me talking about figures, then it's on.
A couple things I want to talk about real quick before we get off. For people who do watch this show, and you do know that I do Cybercast and Galactic Gumbo on the G1 Hexagon channel. Josh has some medical issues come up, and he'll be out for 2 weeks to a month or two. We're not sure how long it'll be. I know as of right now, I will be taking over Cybercast and Galactic Gumbo on this channel for the next, at least next week, possibly next. I mean, as he had posted once, and then I just saw a little while ago he posted to subscribe to the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, for future Cybercast and Galactic Gumbo shows, and watch Justin our G.I. Joe show live tonight. So next week you can catch me here with the Cybercast crew for Cybercast, and then at that point in time we'll decide whether we'll do a Galactic Gumbo, which is the all nerd topic show. Which Fred, we should really get you on for that one. You probably really enjoy that one.
I'm not a nerd. What are you? Oh wait, yes I am.
Yes, you are. You are a nerd.
My nerddom goes deep.
So for people like who watch Joe, know about Cybercast, or don't know, when you do see me go live, it will be for Cybercast next week, and possibly Galactic Gumbo, seeing if we feel squirrely enough to do 2 shows next weekend or not. So then we hope Josh gets better and gets over this little hiccup he's got going on right now with himself. But John, we appreciate you coming on.
Oh man,
definitely.
thanks so much for having me. Again, you get me rambling about toys and comics.
Oh yeah.
Brad, it was good talking to you again, brother. I haven't seen you and heard from you in a hot minute.
I say it's been a bit, man. It's been a bit.
It's been a while, yeah. I think I ran into you at Joe Con or somewhere.
Couple of years. It wasn't. I don't think we actually ran into each other at this last one.
Yeah, we did. I took you up to him.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And I told you that he had told me about how he was eating dinner
Yes.
with that one guy, and they started watching our podcast.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. Watching Mike
No,
and I
it's,
eating is terrible.
That was the funniest thing about Joe Con is everybody was like, "Are you a guest here?" I'm like, "No, I'm just here being a nerd." And they're like, "Oh, holy shit!" Like,
Yeah.
come on. I'm like, I'm
That's
just there
what's
being a
unique
dork.
about you is that you're an actor, but you're still also a nerd like us.
It was kind of cute though, because people were asking me for photos and stuff at the con, and I was like,
Oh,
"I
that's
don't
awesome.
have any. I don't have any with me, man. I'm sorry." They're like, "What? You didn't bring any pictures or something?" I'm like, "No, I came to buy Joe's.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
I'm here to buy toys, man."
Well, great. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. You all can see John at Joe Fest 2019. Sure, John, do you have a website or just follow you on Facebook? Is that pretty much everything that you do now?
John Anderson, actor on Facebook, and of course I'm on IMDb as John Jacob Anderson because there's like a million of us. Instagram, Brother John 1701 on Instagram, or Twitter. I think it's John Anderson TTM, the Trick Talking Meat on Twitter. So
Okay, and
if you hit me up on Facebook, man, just send me a message. If you guys want to BS about toys, I will definitely answer you. Maybe a few days, but we will get to you.
and you do you update where you're going to be at convention wise on your Facebook on a regular basis? Is that how
Yeah,
you go?
yeah. Like I said, John Anderson, actor. Every convention I'm doing, anytime I pop up on a TV show, or if I'm going to be in a movie coming out next week or something, yeah, that's generally when I can talk about it. That's where it's going to be first.
Great.
Nice.
So you'll be able to. So if you're in, when you go like his page and you see he's in your area, be sure to go out and see him and say hello. So, John,
Thanks, man.
thank you so much for coming on tonight. We really, really do appreciate it.
Oh man,
And sorry that
Mike.
Fred was late.
I suck.
right,
Yeah.
right. Next week's show, Fred is being replaced by me. He's apparently busy with his cat and doesn't love you guys anymore. So I'm going to take over as the co-host of Chasing Joe's.
Speaking, wrong show. Wrong show.
Oh!
We're not chasing Joe's.
Oh, I just got fired too. Damn, we just lost two co-hosts in 2 minutes.
Welcome to the unemployment line.
Quick,
That's right.
I want to throw out a shout out. If y'all don't know, there's a young lady we know, not young, but I mean, she is young to us. Diana lives out in, where's she out? She out in California, isn't she?
Diana Davis?
Yeah, out in California.
California.
LA area.
Yeah, she took in a cat, and she's allergic to cats. And she is pretty much taken in this cat that was homeless. It had a very, very, very bad case of the mites or
A mange. He had mites. He was starving to death. Poor. And she is in the process of not only rehabbing him, but trying to find a home for him. His name, if you know Diana's such a big Duke fan. His name is Conrad Mouser.
Nice.
I
So
thought that was neat. So
And my
if you're
3-pound rat dog Rocket. So yeah, I hear you. Clever names are great.
Rocket.
And thank you, Diana Davis, for doing that, man. God bless you for trying to help a stray animal.
Yeah,
Nothing more
especially
than
when,
seeing an animal suffer.
especially since you're allergic to cats.
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah.
There were pictures of her with rubber gloves on, touching it and everything. I just think it's a great thing she did. And I mean, I have enough animals to choke a horse in my house, but it's nice to know that she went really above and beyond what she's doing for this cat.
Yes, she did.
That's
All
awesome.
the pictures and videos I've been watching. So, yo Joe to her, definitely.
Yo, Diane.
So great job, Diane. So we're going to jump off here. Again, thanks for joining us, John. And y'all know where to find him at. If he's in your local area at a convention, be sure to go out and see him. If not, go out to Joe Fest next year and tune in 2 weeks for another episode of Just Another G.I. Joe show. And then if you are interested in Transformers or action figure show, check me here this time next week or 6 o'clock next week, Central Standard Time for Cybercast. So thanks for watching, everyone. We really appreciate it.
See you on the flip side, gang.